Hello and welcome back to the Scenario 7 podcast. My name is Sam and today I'm joined by my two great co-hosts. It's Robert Constantine and Matt Collier. How are you two doing?
I'm doing great, thank you, Sam. It was a pleasure. It's always nice to see your face. So, yeah, very looking forward to these livery reveals.
Oh, too kind. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm buzzing. I'm happy to be here for a new season.
Yeah, no.
2 weeks to go?
Yeah, not long to go at all. And with a new season brings new liveries. So today's podcast is going to be us rating the F1 2022 liveries. We'll be going in alphabetical order, giving each livery a ranking out of 10 before at the end revealing the official Scenario 7 livery rankings for this season. So without further ado, let's get into the rankings. And we'll start off with Alfa Romeo. Joe couldn't be here, but he has given us a list of his rankings because he wanted to get involved. He, off the bat, has given Alfa Romeo a 2 out of 10. We haven't got an explanation, but he's given it a 2. What do you guys think?
Shall I go first?
Go for it.
Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed, to be honest. Last year's livery and even the year before that were so iconic with the Alfa Romeo large logo on the side of each. And this year it kind of looks like they just rushed it. It's got a split down the middle of white and red. And they've got this new Alfa Romeo like font on the side, which kind of reminds me of like a fizzy drink kind of logo. So yeah, a bit disappointed this year. That's why I've given it a 5 out of 10. I still like the colours of the white and the red, but I just feel like they could have done a lot more with it.
See, this is interesting because I've also given it a 5 out of 10, but not for the same reason. I've given it a 5 just because I think it looks too similar to the previous years. I would have loved to see something different from Alfa Romeo. I do think it looks a lot better than last year's car. But that's my opinion. But it still doesn't make the top 5 for me.
Very interesting, because with this car, it's the only car we have no testing images for, because of course they rocked their camo livery during the Spain testing, which was, I mean, they could have just released it early. I mean, Matt, you said it looked rushed. They're the team that bought theirs out last, so it shouldn't look rushed. But it's annoying because I feel like I should like it because I love the red. The red is such a beautiful color, and with like when you have white with the car, it's a great duo. But I just don't really like it. I don't like where the white is positioned in correlation to the rest of the car. I do think the wheel covers and the rear wing Italian flag look great, but it's just the white which has just been put slap bang in the middle of the car. And I just don't really like it. So I've given it a 4 out of 10, not a high rating. So not a great livery to get started. But let's move on to the other AlphaTauri now. And Joe has given this car a 7 out of 10, so ranking this a lot higher than the Alfa Romeo. What do you guys think of
it? I've given it an 8 out of 10. I just really like how AlphaTauri designed their cars. It flows so well with the new regulations. Last year's car was like 10 out of 10. It was just so nice. Yeah, I've given it an 8 out of 10. It's just such a good looking car, in my opinion.
I have to say, I do agree that it's a very good looking car. I'm looking at it right now. And I'll also give it an 8 out of 10. Shocking. Yeah, I mean, as Matt said, AlphaTauri have, they're known for making beautiful cars, beautiful liveries. And this one's the same. It just looks good. I think it looks very sleek with the dark blue, that mix of dark blue and the white. It just makes it look almost like an Indy car, to be fair. It's just it doesn't look like a traditional F1 car. I don't know how to explain it. It just looks different, and I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a good looking car. I think the blend of the two colors look good. I think it's minimalistic in its design. I think the orange cross on the front wing doesn't really work, so it does come down. And I think it's not standout per se, but I think it's nice. So I've gone 6 out of 10. I think it's a good looking car, but for me, it's not standout, but it's solid. Now moving on to the Alpine, and there's going to be some different ratings here, and I'm especially looking at Robert for the different ratings because, well, first of all, I'll say Joe's rating. He's gone for a 1 out of 10. So you can't get worse than that. He obviously thinks that this is the worst possible livery, and I can't wait to see Robert your explanation of of your rating. We don't know what you're going to give, but I've heard you praise it, so I think you're the only one who's going to praise it. But yeah, what do you guys think of the Alpine?
Well, I've also given it the worst livery out of them. I haven't quite given it a 1, but I've given it a 3 out of 10. The color combination of pink and blue just doesn't work. And last year's Alpine for me was one of the best looking F1 cars of last year. And to see the sponsors completely ruin the car, I can only imagine how much pink the founder of BWT wanted on that Alpine. He definitely wanted a lot of pink. So yeah, that's why I couldn't it a 3 out of 10.
Oof. Well, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. My explanation for it, I like pink. You know, I like pink on F1 cars. I think it looks great. And I would have been happy if they kept the first livery that they're going to use, the fully racing point pink livery. I would have been happy with that. But the blue and pink, I just think it's a nice looking combo. I don't know why people hate it. Especially I don't know why Joe hates it that much that he's giving it a 1. When you've got cars like Haas on the grid. But I just think it looks really good. I don't know. The blue and pink is such a nice contrast of colors. Yeah, I'm loving it.
I am gonna bring this back down. I'm not gonna lie. I am the complete opposite, and I'm really disappointed because the thing with Alpine is, I agree with Matt. Last year, I thought, well, in my opinion, I think they had the best livery on the grid. I think the blue, the red, it just looked so nice. I really like their livery, and I just think this is a complete mess. I just don't think the pink and blue works. I think pink and blue can work. I think it's a color combination that can work. I just don't like it on this car. And it's a shame because, like you, Robert, I love pink on racing cars. I loved the Racing Point when that was just fully pink. I thought that looked awesome, but the color scheme just doesn't work. And it is a case of BWT has kind of ruined it. I think their hints of pink on the Aston Martin last year looked good. As I said, the Racing Point, I thought that looked good, but it just doesn't work. It looks like a unicorn has just thrown up all over the car. It's just a complete mess. I have given it a 2 out of 10, my lowest rating. It is just, I don't like it at all. It is just a complete and utter mess for me, which is a shame because I really do like the Alpine, but the L plan went L wrong. But let's move on to Aston Martin, a team that made their debut in the sport last year after a long hiatus and bought us a very nice car. Joe has given this a 7 out of 10. What do you guys think of it?
Personally, I think it's joined with one of the best liveries. The only thing only very small thing I think that lets it down is the Aston Martin logo on the sides. If only they were white, the same as the Cognizant sponsors, it'd work really well. But now that they've got rid of that pink on the side, the watermelon car of last year, as people called it, it just looks so much nicer. The color combination really works, and it just flows so well. So I've given it a 9 out of 10. I think it looks really good.
I like the car. I think it looks really good, but I do like the pink as well. So that's why I prefer last year's car over this one. I'm gonna give the Aston Martin an 8.5. So again, very good looking car. It's a high grade for me, but it's just not as good looking as the Alpine in my eyes.
It's an interesting opinion, not as good as the Alpine, but for me, Aston Martin have delivered again. I think it's a fantastic looking car. Unlike you, Matt, I did like the pink on the car last year, but I think the lime shade of green looks really good. It complements the darker shade really well. It is a fantastic looking car. It looks menacing. I agree that the Aston Martin logo being white would potentially make it better, but I think it's a great looking car. It's, I think, joint second for me. I've given it an 8 out of 10. Fantastic looking car, really like it, and 8 out of 10 for me. But yeah, I'm just really happy that this year, I think that the model of the car's model just makes a lot of the liveries just look so good. I think the way that the model of the car is looking it improves the liveries without them doing anything, which I think is really great. Now on to the Ferrari, and I am very happy with how this car looks. But before I get on to my thoughts, Joe gave it a 9 out of 10. He thinks that I think he gave this as the best score. So he thinks this is the best looking livery. But what do you guys think? Is this the best looking livery, or do you think it's not as good as people think it is?
Well, first of all, I'm surprised that Joe likes a Ferrari livery because we know how much Joe loves Ferrari. But I agree with what Joe said. I've also given it a 9 out of 10. So for me, the Aston Martin, the Ferrari liveries, the best that there is in the field. The color combination of red and black just works so well. I saw some old pictures of old Ferraris with the black DRS boards, and yeah, it just looks so nice. I'm sure they'll be getting a few podiums, and who knows where they'll finish by the end of the season. But yeah, the Ferrari livery is just so iconic.
There's just one word that can describe this livery, and it's perfect. This is a 10 out of 10 livery. That the black and red with the hints of yellow. It looks like an F1 car. If you ask anyone to draw an F1 car, they would probably not draw this, because unless you find Adrian Newey, they're not going to know how to draw an F1 car. But the colors, they just look amazing on the car. And with the new specification, I think every single livery has an advantage on this year's car just because of how the actual car looks. But for the Ferrari, I think they've just nailed the livery. It looks like an iconic, 80s Ferrari. It's just beautiful, and I can't wait to see it on a podium.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a livery that matches what a lot of people say their car is going to be like this year, and that's very good. I mean, it is a great looking car. The red and black complement each other really well. There's a lot of sponsors, but it still looks clean. And the inclusion of the Italian flag is a subtle but really nice adjustment to the car. I think it definitely enhances it. It's really good. I've given it an 8 out of 10, though. I'd say it's joint with Aston Martin. as the second best, but I still think there's a car that looks better. It does look sensational. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it this year. But for me, 8 out of 10. But fantastic looking car, and excited to see it on the podiums this year. Now let's move on to the Haas, a car that's or a team that's been in the news quite a lot recently. Joe has given this a 3 out of 10, so not marking it very highly. What do you guys think of it?
I haven't quite given it a 3, but I have given it a 4 out of 10. Yeah, it just looks so basic. I'm not really a fan of an American company having loads of Russian flags all over their car as well. I just don't think that goes well with the livery. Yeah, so for me, I've given it a 4 out of 10.
I think I'll have to agree with Joe, and I think it deserves a 3. It doesn't look bad, but it's really nothing special, as Matt said. I think when they ran the all white livery without the sponsor on it, I think it looked quite good. But I don't think it belongs on a Formula One grid. It's not flashy in any ways. It doesn't scream, look at me, I'm an F1 car. It's just boring. It's just dull. That's how you can describe this car. So yeah, a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, it's really tough for Haas, because I definitely feel for them, because they've been caught up in a situation that's not their fault, and they've done nothing wrong. They have joined, or they're sponsored by Ural Kali, and it looks like they're going to be dropped for the season because of course, the conflicts going on elsewhere. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually liked the car with the blue, red and white combo. I actually did. I was a fan of it when it was did have the Russian sponsor on it. I don't know why. I just think it looks clean. And then this year's livery, I thought last year's was all right, but this one they cleaned up and it looked better than last year. But now I've rated this in the way that I think they're going to go without the sponsor this year, because I can't see a way in which they keep the sponsor. And it's not their fault that it looks rubbish, but it does look rubbish. It's just white, black, and red, and there's nothing really going on. Again, it's not their fault, but I'm judging what I'm seeing. It's really harsh as they've been forced into it, but I've gone for a 3 out of 10. Just not really a fan. It's unlucky, but for me, yeah, not a good looking car. And yeah, hopefully there's a whirlwind around Haas, and hopefully it can all calm down and they can get ready for next season. But let's now move on to McLaren, Josh and Joe's favourite team. Matt's wearing the McLaren merch. I mean, there's a lot of McLaren fans, so I'll be interested to see what this rating is. Joe, the McLaren fan, has given this an 8, so he rates it very highly. But what are you guys thinking? Is it an 8-worthy car? What do you think?
Personally, this is my personal opinion. I don't think it's quite an 8 out of 10. I was kind of a bit disappointed with how the livery looked. Loads of people did other renders and designs. Loads of people just simply got rid of the blue, and orange and black, personally, I think looks so much nicer. If you get rid of all the sponsors, people say it looks like a season 1 My Team livery. The way the sponsors flow on the black just doesn't work. It doesn't flow as well as the other liveries. I feel like McLaren could have just done so much more with this livery, so I've given it a 5 out of 10.
I think McLaren had an issue before they even showed their livery, because everyone was expecting either a full Gulf livery like that had in Monaco, or just black and orange, because that's what they teased. But despite that, I still think the car looks good. It doesn't amaze me. It's not incredible, but I think it's a lot better than some other cars that we yet to talk about them. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So it's in the middle for me, just slightly above average. I do like the blue, but it just doesn't compare to some of the better looking liveries.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Listen, I won't lie, when this car came out, I slandered it loads. I thought it was rubbish, and I was like, yeah, this looks it just didn't look right. But now I've seen a few images of it on track. It's actually grown on me quite a bit. Like, I mean, me and Robert were having this conversation the other day. You put an F1 car on a track and it looks so much better than the render 99% of the time. And I now quite like it. I think it's all right. I think the color scheme's all right. Again, I agree with you, Matt. I think without the blue, and if it had just been orange or black, it'd look potentially better. But the blue's kind of growing on me. And the point you made, Matt, I've written down here, there, it does look like it was designed in the F1 2022 game. It does look like one of those liveries. So if I could have designed it, I don't think you could get many points for that. And I do feel there's a lot going on. Saying that, at first I thought it was going to be my least favorite car, and it's risen in my thoughts, and I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think it's all right. It's not too bad. It's not the worst. It's middle of the road for me. Definitely not the worst. But let's move on to the Mercedes now. And Joe's given it a 7 out of 10. That is his rating. What do you guys think of it? I mean, of course, last year having a black livery, now going back to the traditional silver, the silver arrows. What do you think?
Personally, I'm a fan of black and silver liveries. The fact that it's not a black livery on the grid this year is kind of disappointing. I quite like black liveries, but then, as I said, I also like the silver liveries. Going back to the McLarens of 2012, 2013, 2014. I do like the Mercedes livery. I just think the way they've designed it, the silver is just so iconic. So I've given it an 8 out of 10.
See, I'm a Mercedes fanboy, and I'm not happy with the livery. I was excited for the silver arrows to come back. I just don't think they look silver at all. They remind me of the 2019 livery, which I didn't like. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'm really not a big fan. It will probably grow on me, when I actually see it on track racing and hopefully winning races. But at the moment, I just don't like it. It's got too much of that Petronas green on it. I don't think the red looks any good. The red accents, they just don't complement the car at all. They looked amazing when they had the black livery, but in this combination, it's just a mess for me. I really don't like it.
And that is from the Mercedes fanboy himself. And to be honest, I actually agree. I know they are the silver arrows, but the black design was 10 times better. Last year's design looked so nice, and I know they're going back to the thing they're known for, but it just doesn't look great. I think the render looks better than on track. I think that is one of the few times that a car looks better in the render than on track. Very few. Not sure about the arrow things at the back. I think, Robert, you pointed them out. It is the worst Mercedes livery in quite a few years. It's very average, not great. I really wish they'd have kept the black livery. or just done something better with the silver. But I've gone 5 out of 10, very average. Not a fan of it, to be honest. And we're now going down to the penultimate livery. We've gone from Mercedes. Now we're going to Red Bull, the two that battled so hard last year, sorry. And let's see how close the battle is in the livery rankings. So Joe has given the Red Bull a 4 out of 10. Not sure how much that is to do with the fact that he's a Mercedes fan and that he doesn't like Red Bull. But what have you guys given the Red Bull?
I do feel like they're going downhill with their liveries, mainly because of this massive Oracle sponsor that's kind of just compromised the iconic Red Bull liveries and how they've looked in recent years. As I said, I feel like their iconic liveries slowly fading away. It's still a good livery, but I definitely prefer the older Red Bull liveries. So I've given it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I do think the Red Bull livery is losing. It's just not good looking anymore. The new sponsors, I really don't like them, especially on the front wing. I think Red Bull are very lucky because we've got this new car for 2022. And for that's the only reason why I've given it a 6.5 out of 10. So just slightly better looking than the Mercedes. But if this was last year's car with this year's livery, it would have probably been my second least favorite car on the grid. It's just nothing special. I know that it's the traditional Red Bull livery. They're not going to change it that much, but they've just made it worse. So for that reason, it's just average.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I quite like it. I know it is the same thing every year, but it still looks great, in my opinion, anyway. There's not really much to say about it because it is pretty much the same thing every year. I don't mind the Oracle on the side. Of course, I'd prefer the old school when it said actually said Red Bull on the side. But I guess they're thinking, why fix what isn't broken? It's something that looks good. It loses points for originality, of course it does, because of how similar it is. But I don't mind it. I think it's all right. I have given it a 7 out of 10. I think it's solid. I like how it looks. Is it the same? Yes. Does it look good? Yes. So that's what I've got to give for Red Bull. And now we move on to the final team, and that is Williams. Now, I feel like they've done a great job this year compared to last year, but I'll speak more about my thoughts in a bit. Joe has given it an 8. So Joe thinks highly of it. Do you think that this is a improvement on last year? And how would you rank it out of
10? I definitely feel like it's an improvement from last year. I just kind of felt like the white, yellow, and blue, I didn't kind of understand what they were trying to achieve last year with their livery. This year's livery, I quite like the diamond pattern that they've done at the back. They've got loads of different patterns of blue, which I think works really well. The only downside of this livery is just the random bits of red, and their team principal said, "Oh, the red's because we're a British team." I think a lot of people would agree that some small British flags would have been a lot better than just red triangle-esque shapes all over the livery, especially on the nose. I think the nose shot just I'm not a fan of, but I still think it's not bad, not amazing. So I've given it a 6 out of 10.
Ooh. I love the red. I think that the red is incredible. It just looks great on the car. And this is without a doubt one of the most beautiful F1 cars we've seen in the recent history. It's, for me, it's not as good looking as the Ferrari. I think the Ferrari gets points just because it's Ferrari. That livery is always going to look good on a Ferrari. But Williams have done really well. And for that reason, I'll give them a 9.5 out of 10. That's my second favorite car of this year. It's just great. The two different shades of blue, they complement each other. And I think, as I said, the red, that's just the icing on the cake. That's what makes it such a good looking livery.
Yeah, I am going to agree with Robert on this. For me, it's the best livery of the year, even better than the Ferrari. The different shades of blue look sensational. Last year's car I didn't like at all. I probably thought it was the worst livery on the grid. This year it's the best. They've gone from bottom to top. And I'm looking forward to this car being the one that's lapped loads this year, but at least it's going to look good doing it. That's the key. But I think the hints of red look great. I just love everything about this car. My two small things about it is I think the Williams logo placement is a bit weird, doesn't really work that well. And the placement of Doralton Ventures, I think that's a bit weird as well. But other than that, it's fantastic. I love it. It looks sensational. It looks like a piece of art, not a Formula One car. I genuinely could go on about this car for years. It is I love it so much. I can't wait to see more of it this year. And that is the end of our rankings, going through each F1 team's livery. And I have now got to the list of the final scenario 7, the final scenario 7 livery rankings for 2022. And I'll start with in last. And in last place, with an average of 3.25, is the Haas. Unfortunate for them, but Haas are in last place. They used to last by now. It's fine. They'll be able to deal with it. In ninth place, we've got Alpine with an average of 3.75. And just above I'm not gonna lie, Robert, you are the reason that's not a lot lower. So
I did save the Alpine. I'm happy.
You saved the Alpine from rock bottom. So well done, mate. Not too far above that is the Alfa Romeo with an average of 4 out of 10. In sixth place now, we have got. This is now where it gets a lot closer because we've got we've got Red Bull with a 6.12 average, just above in sixth. And then just narrowly above that in fifth and fourth, and the McLaren and the Mercedes with a 6.5. The Alpha Tauri in fourth, 7.25. And then in a joint second are Aston Martin and Williams, 8.12. And then the best livery, the Scenario 7 2022 best livery is the Ferrari. I have no qualms around that. We'll give it a round of applause. Congratulations, Ferrari. You've knocked it out of the park. The red and black look so good. And they are the best livery of the year. But yeah, I think that wraps up our podcast looking at each team's livery and giving them a rankings. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe. We've got loads of content coming up as the season really ramps up. So you're going to need to stay informed. Follow us on our social medias, linked below. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Matt, for joining me. Thank you for giving your sensational analysis. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.